Now it's crazy and wild. Let me tell you why. Young girl from a marginalized community in Mombasa, a small town, was so naughty, did everything opposite of what she was told, went to Malaysia, lived her life completely, was so delved into music and arts and culture, then moved to Germany, then got integrated in the European culture,
and then came back home.
And then 2019, I worked for a while. I had my own boutique agency, but then I worked for our local government for like 4 months.
Yeah.
And then something happened.
Let's talk about the Kenyan woman.
Yes.
Who is the Kenyan woman?
The Kenyan woman is a powerful woman. She's assertive. She's confident. She's a go-getter, but she faces so much adversities. We're talking about whether she faces being killed by her lover, unequal pay at the job, political segregation. It's a lot, like a family pressure, having kids, being able to still be strong and still take on everything, black tax and all that. But she is a ball of hope for every girl child in Kenya, but even across Africa.
People ask me where I get all my energy from the stage to the studio and to my desk. I am the energy girl, and you can be one too.
You're listening to Adeshokwe Live, the Afrobeats podcast.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to a brand new edition of Adeshokwe Live, the official Afrobeats podcast, right here in Nairobi, Kenya. This is brought to you by Iconic Distribution, where you can go and get some information about distributing content, music, all forms of marketing, tech marketing, digital marketing. Go to iconicdistro.com. And the Energy God Energy Drink. Drink and be yourself. Stay energized. And visit energygod.com. And as always, thanks for subscribing, liking, commenting, sharing. Keep those subscriptions going up. The bigger our platform gets, the better we're in position to promote our own culture without waiting for anybody to promote us. So we appreciate you. Now, I am in Nairobi, Kenya, and I just thought it very important to kind of connect with some of the incredible voices out here in Kenya. And the first guest on my list is none other than the speaker, youth empowerment advocate, women advocate, former government administrator, and shall I say former deputy minister, who was actually the youngest in administration at the time. It's the lovely Nadia Abdalla. How are you? How did I do with the introduction?
You did well. You summarized it well.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Listen, it's a pleasure to meet you. I communicated with you whilst I was coming here because I just felt like coming to Kenya. Kenya is a very important position. Yeah. Not only geopolitically, but I'm also talking about creatively as well.
Okay.
And I've watched this space for quite some time, and I've seen some very interesting players, which includes yourself. Now, I gave you a little intro in summary, but for the listeners and the viewers, how would you best introduce yourself and give us a little taster of who Nadia is?
Well, where do I start?
Yeah, please, feel free.
So, I'm Nadia.
Yeah.
I'm Nadia Abdalla.
Yeah.
My close friends call me Nads, but other people call me Nadi. But there's also Nadi Wadi. And I am a young lady who wears a lot of hats. One, I am a youth and women empowerment advocate. I'm a Pan-African leader. I am a public speaker. I am an international development communicator and strategist. But one of the things that I pride myself for is I am a former chief administrative secretary for Kenyans, but deputy minister who served in our former government and at the age of 29. And the reason I say I pride myself in that because it's Kenya, it's Africa.
Facts.
I'm a young lady, not married.
Yeah, you added one more trait.
Very beautiful. Intelligent to be in spaces that a lot of times it's the older generation that occupies. So I pride myself in that a lot because it's a milestone.
That's amazing.
But overall, I'm just a young lady with vibes.
Absolutely.
Vibes.
Listen, to be able to unpeel each layer or just take away from each layer and look at it a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Nadia.
Yes.
At the beginning. Like, Where were you born
Yeah.
and raised? What was that upbringing like to have impacted you so much?
Yeah, so I was born on an island called Mombasa. So Mombasa is the second largest city in Kenya, but it's an island. So I'm originally Swahili. So majority of us are Swahilis who live there. And I was raised in a community where once you get to high school, there are two things. You either get married, have kids, build a family.
High school.
Yes, or you're fortunate enough, you go to college, then after that, you just aspire to just be enough. So growing up, I was raised in a blended family. What that means is my late mom and dad were married, then divorced when I was at least 1 or 2. Then my mom got remarried again when I was 4, 5. And so you can understand the dynamics from one family to another. I was always the black sheep in the family. My family never understood why I was so vocal. So I was tagged a noisemaker, know-it-all, outcast, you name it, all those things. But I don't know, I just had a mind of myself. I believe that I am greater than who I was. I was always vocal. So that would be rude. In fact, there's a story when I was young. My grandmother was washing clothes outside the veranda, and this young man, I think he was Asian, walked past my grandmother's veranda. And at that age, I was like, why does this guy have so much facial hair? So I called him. I said, hey, you. And then I said, Sura kama paka. What that is you look like a cat. In front of my grandma. So my grandmother actually told the guy, mpige, like beat her. And the guy slapped me. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. And my grandmother then was like, yeah, go back to the house. So it was such a big deal. But I was also, a lot of people don't know this. At the age of 16, I sneaked a boy to the at a supermarket.
Oh my
and
gosh.
we got caught by the police. Now, I was 16, he was 18. So you can imagine, they actually blamed him for sneaking me in, but it was me.
Because he's 18, they say he's 2 years older than you.
And guess what happened? My family found out and they shaved my entire head.
No way.
Yeah,
the African style.
Yeah,
That's the African
they shaved
style.
my entire head. My grandmother beat me up with my grandfather's stick. Wow. And that moment, and the reason why I'm mentioning it, that moment my family said I would never go to university. They were like, because you did this, you're going to stay, maybe you'll get married. Like, it was punishment.
That was punishment to say that you were not going to further your education.
Yes, so I actually worked so hard. Like, we were a lower, I would say, lower middle, how do you say it? A middle lower class family. But then when my late mom got married to my stepdad, then we were like a bit upper middle class. So I grew up in both dynamics. You know, I saw how my grandmother and my mom and her kids struggle. But then at the same time, I saw how my mom persevered, everything. Then my stepfather actually took over my education. And I think that's what was the ultimate click. Because after I finished high school, they forgave me and I was given a chance.
Wow.
Yes, because at first my family was like, you're a disgrace. I'm the firstborn, firstborn pride and everything. But I did something like that. So it was such a big deal. But then my stepdad, my mom, my family forgave me. And at 17, I went to university in Malaysia.
In Malaysia at 17?
Yes, I went to Malaysia.
God damn.
I know. And you can imagine, we were very strict because, again, the blended family, my stepfather is Arab. And so I was also raised in a multicultural family. I have family who are Catholics. I have family who are Muslims. So for me, it was a pot full of cultures. I would say art, life and everything. But what I saw was that in our family, the women were so strong. But then they were so comfortable. So you can find my aunt was a secretary. My other aunt, she went to university, but then she got married, had kids. My mom, she had an ACC, that's accounting degree.
Wow.
But then after a while, she left work to just take care of us. So for me, that wasn't
enough.
That wasn't enough. So I told myself, since I've been given a chance to go to university, I said I would not look back.
What did you study?
So I have a bachelor's in public relations, mass communication with a minor in journalism.
Wow.
And then I have a master's in international relations, cultural diplomacy, and foreign policy.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah. and it's interesting because I lived in Malaysia for 5 years, studied, worked there. Then I moved to Germany and lived there. Yes.
You moved to Germany? For how long?
I moved to Germany for almost 4 years.
Oh, wie geht's?
Meine Deutsch nicht so gut. It's not good. I don't.
Ich auch.
Okay. But like I moved here to Germany. I lived in Berlin.
No way. That's my favorite city in
Let me tell
Europe.
you.
That's
First
my favorite
of all,
city.
like the Afrobeats culture there.
That's my favorite city.
Me too.
No
I
way.
love it. And so I lived there, and the plan was to work there after finishing studying. But my late mom got cervical cancer. So in 2019, I came back. I was actually writing a thesis, but then they found that she had cervical cancer. So 2019, I fully moved to Kenya. Now it's crazy and wild. Let me tell you why. Young girl from a marginalized community in Mombasa, small town, was so naughty, did everything opposite of what she was told, went to Malaysia, lived her life completely, was so delved into music and arts and culture, then moved to Germany, then got integrated in the European culture,
and then came back home.
And then 2019, I worked for a while. I had my own boutique agency, but then I worked for our local government for like 4 months.
Yeah.
And then something happened.
Talk to me.
On January 13th, 2020, that was when my name was announced by the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta. And I was called to be at service.
How did you, where did that come? How did a 29-year-old who had lived the last 10 years of her life, either in Asia or Germany, just recently moved back home, get in that room where you got that opportunity?
To be honest, what I believe was, it's number one, grace, but at the same time, I think I manifested this craziness because on December 12th, 2019, I had gone to China. Again, I was in China for a training. Long story, China for a training. And I remember I woke up that morning and I was like, today is our Independence Day. I need to make a video to talk directly to the president. How I got the courage, I don't know.
Wow.
And I went on my Instagram and I recorded a video. And I spoke to the president and I said, this is our independence. I feel like right now Kenya is at a very pivotal position. They need to have young people to be in power. And I mentioned they need to integrate technology, innovation, add youth, this and that. That was December 12th, 2019. January 13th, 2020, my name was announced. Now, I don't know, because I had never met the president. I had no intentions to come back to Kenya. I just came back because of my mom. And I really didn't care about the government because I grew up in a community where I didn't see anyone like myself. Yeah. Never seen anyone like myself in that position. And then this happened. So a lot of people are like, oh, this and this, she knows this person, she knows that person, she had a godfather. But to be honest, I didn't have a godfather. I think what worked for me was at that time, the former government had pressure to integrate young people. And
so they were looking.
And I think my video just popped up because when we got sworn in on 17th January 2020, the president singled me out from everyone when we were at State House. And he said, Nadia, I've seen all the things that you're doing with the community and online, and now you have the government fully backing. Please take it and do what you can. You can imagine a room full of people who have been in government for the longest time, and the president just singles out this 29-year-old girl and says, you have to do that. So for me, that's what I can say. What helped me was I was just vocal.
And when you came back, 4 months in, you get this great opportunity to be a part of the government.
Yes.
Was that when your youth and women advocacy went to the next level?
Yeah.
Or had you been really pushing it heavy before you had this opportunity?
I had been pushing it heavy, but on just a local context.
Yeah.
To be honest, I wanted to empower my community because I went to uni, I lived abroad, I lived my life. So all my age mates who I grew up with, I couldn't relate to them anymore. Wow. And so for me, I was like, I'm going to start where I can. So local community with people. And I remember I worked with a lot of local leaders who were there and they supported me. I used to do brunch. I used to train young people, public speaking for free. I used to volunteer. But at the same time, I used to just be that voice. Now, in my community, not everyone liked me.
Because you're different.
Yes. So some families were like, our kids have to stay away from her because she's a bad influence. Some would come to my mom and tell her, like, your daughter's going to go to hell. Like, I was on a show called Miss President within that time. And that show was to show Kenyans that women can take up leadership. The reason I applied to go onto it was because I just wanted visibility. I needed a platform to help me enhance my own capability. Brand. But then when people in my community saw that, some of them reached out to my mom and said, your daughter is going to go to hell.
She's doing too much.
Too much. She should be married. Like, she's expired goods. Like, how? For us, when you're like after 21,
yes, Africa.
Something has to happen. And so my late mom was my biggest supporter. And she used to tell people, it's okay, I'll go with her. I'll hold her hand and go with her to hell. And the crazy part is the biggest blow I had was after now being elevated, after she sacrificed so much, my late mom passed away 5 months into my government job.
Wow.
So you can imagine now I had more morale to like work harder to just show. But the goal was to, up until today, my goal is to use my voice to share what I know and open up doors for other people to be able to learn and just be who they are.
Let's talk about the Kenyan woman.
Yes.
Who is the Kenyan woman?
The Kenyan woman is a powerful woman. She's assertive. She's confident. She's a go-getter, but she faces so much adversities. We're talking about whether she faces being killed by her lover, unequal pay at the job, political segregation. It's a lot, like a family pressure, having kids, being able to still be strong and still take on everything, black tax and all that. But she is a ball of hope for every girl child in Kenya, but even across Africa.
You mentioned a very strong point there where you talked about, domestic violence.
Yeah.
And someone spoke to me recently and said that in recent time, the numbers of Kenyan women being the victim of domestic abuse and losing their lives have gone through the roof.
Agreed.
And probably second highest in Africa at the moment. Talk to me about that.
So, and I'll tell you this, a lot of people, or some people know and others don't. Personally, I've been through sexual violence and domestic violence as well. In university, my friend tried to rape me. Another one almost raped me. And so I know what it means. And so when you look at Kenya right now, whether it's killing because of love or passion, or it's because people just feel like, she's a woman and she's too much. Yeah. Or it's, our athletes just, being killed by their lovers because they feel like the women are doing too much, are successful and everything. And so it's become such a sad state of affair when we're talking about women and being violated and being beaten up or being killed, because we're in a country and a society where, number one, the first thing they ask is, what did she do until he did that?
Yeah, that's such a crazy... Yeah. That's one of the most craziest...
Yeah, that's number one. What did she do until she did that? And then number two is, doesn't she know better? Yes, there's also that. And you'll find that right now, because of the internet, from the Gen Z uprising, going on up until femicide advocacy, you'll find that we now have the capability to talk and speak out about it. But at the same time, nobody's listening. That's the problem. That's
my next question. Now there's visibility, there's awareness.
Yes.
I remember where I was when I looked at my social media and I saw that one of the most successful Kenyan athletes, female athletes, had passed away at the hands of a lover. I remember where I was looking at it thinking, what the hell?
Yeah.
So the visibility and the awareness is there. But what can be done?
Honestly, to be honest, the first thing our female leaders need to really get off their bottoms and start speaking and start coming out and start supporting. Because let me tell you something. If the female leader who's at advantage point cannot come and talk on behalf of everyone else,
then nobody else. will do
nobody is going to do that, because they're in policy spaces, they're in political spaces, they're in state spaces, so that they're able to echo the views of the people, and in this context, women. But you see, they've also let us down. Then number 2, the community as well. I know so many young women who've been violated, and their families tell them, don't talk
quiet.
about it, because you're going to either spoil your uncle's family, or, what will people say about you? One of my fear of not talking was, I was scared of how people are going to see me. I was like, okay, people are seeing Nadia, but then when I say this, they'll take away some of my my success and self-respect, and they'll be like, no, but what happened? And so for me, what I think needs to be done is we still need to keep talking, keep voicing, keep learning more about the different things that are happening. And that's being done. But I feel like we still need support as well.
I also think there's a part that a lot of people don't mention,
Yeah.
which is, in my opinion,
Yeah.
the most important part.
Yes.
Young men, boys,
Yeah.
need to be educated now. You need to catch the boys young. From age
Yeah.
9 and 10, 11
True.
and 12,
True.
secondary schools, the law.
They need to.
That's where the conversation,
Yeah.
the conversation is, the women have to
Yes.
speak out, but the real conversation is the perpetrator,
Yeah.
the future perpetrator of this crime
are the
needs
boys.
to be turned the other way quite early.
And I agree. And let me tell you something. I don't know about other African countries,
Yes.
but in Kenya, our families, our mothers, focus so much on making us strong.
Yes. It's in all
And
African
now the
countries.
boys, and now the
boys are spoiled. They get away with
spoiled.
everything.
They get away.
We get away with a lot of things.
everything. So you find, like, remember I told you about my incident,
Yes.
and I was told you will not go to school, you get married. But if
But
it's
the
a boy,
nah.
be like, yeah, it's okay. In fact, I remember my mom was like, you need to start speaking to your brother about,
he's-
condoms and everything, because and I asked her.
Nobody
You never
spoke to
told
me.
me anything. You just told me, we were even scared. Sometimes you're like, oh my God, if you kiss a boy,
Yeah.
might be pregnant, And so I think we need to really, and you've said it very well, we need to talk to the young boys.
That's where the work is.
But we need to talk to young boys. And let me tell you who needs to talk to them. Because I have this conversation with a lot of men. And they say, you guys need to also empower the boys. No,
we need to
The
speak to
men.
them. Boys
Why
need to
is it that the men want us to empower the women?
No.
Want us to empower the boys? No. The men have to do it.
So I have a son and
Yeah.
I have a daughter. And as you know,
Yes.
they're always fighting.
Yes.
There's something. The law is you do not hit your sister or
Yeah.
any woman at
That's
all.
good.
And it starts with your sister.
Yeah.
The more confident you or comfortable you become smacking your sister, even though, she was the one that was, no. Then you're going to go out
Yeah.
and smack your classmate.
Yeah.
Get comfortable doing it, and then your girlfriend gets a hit. So
Exactly.
it has to start
It has to.
from age 7,
Yeah.
age 6, when they're tussling for toys, or she's talking and he doesn't like it. The man has to step
Absolutely.
up
Yeah.
and say, and then you also have to lead by example.
Yeah, you do.
You can't be a father, slapping the mom or shouting the mom
Yep.
down in front of the son,
Yeah.
and then you tell him don't do it.
Yeah, and I think that brings me back to systematic family dimensions. I think there are too many broken, dysfunctional families that are actually a ripple effect to the children, to the women, everything. I mean, I had a 25-year-old boy DMing me on Instagram, telling me how he loves what I've been doing and everything. And I was like, sorry, but you're young. You're like my brother's age. And he says, no, but I love you and everything. Then sent me a whole booking. He said, let's meet at this hotel, this time, gave me the number and said, I know you only want guys your age and everything, but I promise you that I'm able to give you whatever it is that others give you. This is a 25-year-old boy talking to me.
These boys are brave, man.
They are brave. And he did not stop. He did not stop.
But you know the crazy thing, when you mention that, I've also seen stories in Kenya where a guy got an apartment, took the girl there, and murdered the girl.
Yep. It's there. It happens. I think there's also a bit of rage. That's what I'm saying. We need to really also pinpoint what exactly
the
the problem is, because it's a lot of anger from the men towards the women. And there were statistics that came out, like right now in Kenya, the percentage of women who are earning between 50,000 to 100,000, I think, so that's like $500 to 1,000, has increased and surpassed the men. You go on the streets right now, women are driving luxury cars. Women, and I'm talking about women who are in big positions, whether it's in development world, whether it's their own hustle, whatever it is, women are now cashing in.
Yeah.
But then you find a group of men talking and be like, yeah, but they cannot take our place. So the problem is they think we want to take the place. To be honest, no woman wants to be a man. And a real man knows that.
Yeah.
No woman. Yeah, no
Facts.
woman.
Facts.
In fact, for us, I mean, I pay my own bills. I do everything, but I can tell you, I'm tired. I am tired, you know?
If a guy comes in and says, listen, babe, man, I'm going to take care of that.
Man.
No problem.
I will be like, I will submit. But you see, that's not what they're thinking. They're thinking like, oh, you know, they want to like take our place, this and that. So it's a lot of broken culture and societal misconceptions. But it's very sad because as the institution, whether it's state or private sector, they're not supporting this plea, this cry. Because at the end of the day, we all know it. The law of the land is what will solve every problem.
Facts.
Even if we talk to our young brothers, our sons, our daughters,
people
it's the
need
law.
to pay serious prices.
And you're
for
finding
these crimes.
people, pedophiles, people who've killed, some of them run scot-free.
Yeah.
And you're wondering, like, where are we heading?
Where we going? Now, that brings me into another topic that I wanted to discuss with you. Like I've always said to a lot of my friends, Kenyan or not,
Yes.
that Kenya has an incredible position in arts and culture. Being in the world of Afrobeats, if you watch a lot of the musicians that have been successful, maybe in Nigeria or Ghana, one of the first spikes that they get, first places to kind of show them that it looks like you might have a bright future is East Africa, particularly Kenya and Uganda.
Okay.
What about the young people in Kenya within this arts and entertainment sector?
Yeah.
What is it about them that makes you guys spot creativity and appreciate creativity so early, even before a lot of people do across the continent?
Yeah, I think it's, if I can be honest, I think it's the fact that, number one, we are...
You like enjoyment.
Yes.
Hey, you like enjoyment.
We like enjoyment. But number two, majority of Kenyans are high-functioning individuals. So you understand, high-functioning individuals, how do they let out their stress and everything? It's through music. Now, if you look at our culture, our historical traditions and everything, you'll find that at the end of the day, especially in Kenya, with our 47, before I misquote how many tribes we have, but with our...
With your tens of tribes.
With our tens of tribes. Every tribe has a particular beat. Yeah, every tribe, a particular beat, particular rhythm, and particular way of dance. Like, talk about where I come from. For us, dance is everything. But ours is more sensual, more expressive, more loving. That's why you'll find the coastal side of Kenya leans a lot.
Yesterday, I was speaking to my friend Bien, and he played me a song, and he said, that's the Luya sound.
Yes.
And that sound is reflective. It sounds a lot like the Igbo tribe where I'm from.
Yes. So we are very rhythmic people. But now the other thing is, because we are such a melting pot of culture and everything, it's such a distinctive thing in Kenya. We appreciate other people's work, unfortunately, more than our own. Let me just be honest. More than our own. And so you understand, we look at music, we see the video concept, the composure, the rhythm, the arts that is put into it, the details, and that just quickly, it just gets to us and we just buy it in. And because we love an enjoyment and everything else in between, you find that Afrobeats blows up in Kenya. Yeah. I mean, I was singing, one of my favorite songs is by... Hi by Adenkule and Davido.
Yeah.
And yesterday, a friend of mine told me, Nadia, do you really understand what they're singing? And I was singing the entire lyrics and they were like, do you really understand? But it was just something about that song that gets you up and you just dance and everything. But then on the other side, as Kenya, we are so deep in R&B. If you look at us, our music is yes. So we are R&B. That's why you feel, you see like people like Bien.
Yes,
they really, really succeed because his music is very R&B.
Tapping into the love angle. They
tap into it, yeah. But then there's the other segment that they are into genge and gengeton. Now, genge and gengeton music, it relates with the people from the hood. Because that music talks about the daily life, the streets, the hustle. Now, if you listen to those beats, they relate a lot to, you know, when Wizkid made his, there's one song, Ojueleba. When he made that, it also talks about that. So you find that Kenyans also relate to that because of the street life, because of the struggle. Talk about Burna Common Person.
Yeah.
His song.
I saw you quote the lyrics on your WhatsApp story. I'm like, okay.
Let me tell you, I'm a fan of Burna. I am a fan.
Everybody's a fan of Burna.
But mine is from, I met him for the first time in Malaysia when I was 18. When he was still,
he was still hustling.
He was still hustling. Yeah. So when I look at him, I'm like, but that's why we love Afrobeats. That's why we relate to, and that's why you see we consume a lot of it, because there is a correlation. And then when you put, let's say, Nigerians and you put Kenyans, the only difference between us two, number one, is our population. Because we are hustlers. Yep. We are high-functioning people. Yep. And we will do anything to break bread.
They name it. They go hustle.
Yeah, we're going to hustle. And Kenya, when we see that, you know, it's relatability.
Facts.
So for us, we consume, and then we also have the purchasing power. A huge number, especially those who consume such music, are able to buy tickets to go for concerts, are able to buy music online, and are able to really just delve into that culture. And so I think those are the main factors. The fact that our purchasing power is equivalent to how much we consume, relatability, and just the rhythmic angle of it. Yeah.
The youth, again, the young people in Kenya have also, especially in 2024, we saw the uprising where they raised their voices.
Yeah. I was on the streets.
You were on the streets?
I was on the streets. Except for the last day, but I was on the streets.
Where they, you know, they made it clear to the people, the powers that be, that they didn't want a bill to be passed. And, you know, Africa took notice of that. The world took notice of that. Yes, sadly, young people lost their lives and sacrificed themselves for the right, for their voices and our voices to be heard. What was that like for you, experiencing, you know, the Kenyan youth really saying no to power? And, you know, coming from Africa, when we stand in front of the weapon, we stand in front of authority, our parents taught us to back down. But this new generation
didn't.
What was that for you? What was that like for you?
Honestly, for me, it was a mix of emotions, especially the fact that I served in the government before this one. And as a young person, when I went in there and the support that I got from the former president to my immediate boss, who was the minister now for youth and ICT, to the programs that I was doing. I mean, I would go across the 47 counties when I was in the government then. And every county that I go to, young people would welcome me, would receive us, would listen. I mean, I was successful to host the biggest campaign. It was called Kenyan Meme. In fact, I'm even wearing it. And I put this campaign together 10 months into my job. And I managed to get the president to come and talk to over 1,000 young people. Intergenerational dialogue, you know, listening and this, different programs, you're seeing it. So then after that, you come now to this new place where now we know we were supposed to take a step back. And then I see this and I go to the streets and all I can hear them saying is, we have seen our parents suffer. Now, people around Africa might not know this, but this generation that has come up and are saying no, this is the generation, we call it the Kibaki generation. So Mwai Kibaki was our third president. He's late now. And he was the one who actually brought in free education.
Wow.
So Kibaki's generation had access to education, access to knowledge. And at that particular time, our parents, including myself, I went to high school and university. Our parents had the money
to support.
Economies of scale were good. Financing money was flowing very well. So these kids saw how their parents brought them up, how they took them to school, then boom, comes a time where now their parents cannot even put food on the table. And so on the streets, you could hear that we are out here because of our parents. Number two, we are out here because we know. Because everyone, that uprising made everyone, by the way, we are all lawyers now and politicians. Because people have read the Constitution.
People read the bill.
We read the bill. Yes. We read the Constitution.
That's amazing. Man.
And it's powerful because information is power.
It's key.
And it's key. And you can imagine we're on the street, we got chased by horses. Honestly, that was one thing that I actually broke down. I remember I recorded myself crying because I was like, how is a horse chasing a young person? How are they chasing us? And it was so bad because there was a police on top of the horse with a marungu and whip. And they were now chasing young people. And you can imagine, when I'm talking about young people, I'm talking about 18. 19, 20, 21. Putting tear gassing and tear gas is so bad.
Tear gas is not.
It was bad.
No, it's not.
It's bad. I was sick for 2 weeks. Let me tell you.
A former minister.
But I was there. I was there. But you see, at the same time, there's also a lot of split conversations.
Yes.
Because one thing that I feel like if young people can come together, it's very powerful. But there was a split. Some young people now were attacking other young people for doing whatever it is they were doing, and others. So that kind of mixed the whole purpose of why we're doing that. But the goal was young people are fearless. Young people are holding politicians accountable, which is something that has never happened. Because as you said, our parents is one of those things. I remember my aunt calling me.
Go back home.
She was like, first of all, she told me, you know, you're a former government official. If they see you on the street, they will come for you. She told me that. And you want to lose your job? And I'm like, what? Yes, these other jobs I'm hustling. But so you can imagine, fear. They have fear in them. And then these ones are coming out and they're saying, we're not scared. So it was, by the way, that whole Gen Z movement was about information. They understood that you're raising the price of bread, you're raising the price of oil, petrol, you're raising taxes. And I mean, we kind of achieved a bit, but still you can find like things like taxes. It's crazy. There's still a lot that needs to go on. But I think the pivotal message was that it's a well-informed generation, tech savvy, socially versed, and it's a generation that is not split by tribe. I don't know if you know that, but Kenya, we are very sensitive when it comes to tribe.
I heard about that. That happens in Nigeria too. We're very sensitive. Tribe, a Yoruba person, you cannot marry an Igbo person. Even in Yoruba, Ekiti is different from Ijebu. Ijebu is different from Oyo.
I know.
Exactly. So I heard that yesterday for the first time, that Kenyans are really very tribalistic. But this was like the first time.
This was the first time. This was the first time. No tribe. Everyone was Kenyan. We were just all binded by one goal, which is to say no. And now that the physical uprising that happened, it might have stopped physically, but if you go online right now, the information, the conversation that is being held, it's never happened before. And I mean, we're even saying, like, we motivated even Ghanaians, imagine. The ones who are just so calm.
Even Nigerians, everybody.
Everyone.
Everybody was
So
motivated.
You can imagine. Yeah. So it's what Africa needs now is more young people need to be knowledgeable about things. This idea of, I don't vote because it doesn't concern me. No. It concerns... Your vote counts because it concerns every single person out there. But it's a very great place to be at as a Kenyan.
And that basically leads me into the final question. And this is not really a question. It's almost like an open mic for you.
Yes.
Basically, where do we go from here? What would you like to see across Africa.
Yeah.
You know, for the young people.
The young people.
What should we be doing as individuals?
Yeah.
Empowering, encouraging, and supporting.
Yeah.
Where should we go? No.
I think number one, young people need to start coming out and taking up leadership positions. And when I say leadership positions, I mean any sort, whether it's a chief, whether it's just a policy maker, you just need to be on that table, even if you're not invited. Number two, I want to see more young people, especially in Africa, more knowledgeable. This idea of saying, because even I was told this a lot, oh, you have time. No one has time. Time is not there. Because back then, it was only the old people that died.
Yes.
Now
anybody dies.
Anybody. So time, we don't have time. Especially when our money, our taxes, our creativity, our arts are involved, we don't have time. We have to go. And then number three, I honestly want to see another element in which can help Africa is maximizing on our creative arts.
Facts.
Music,
that's the new oil.
Music and art is going to take this continent on a different level.
Facts.
I mean, you already see the print I'm wearing. This is not Kenyan. You know, and so if we are able to use music, because I'm pretty sure back in the day, even at Fela's shrine, music sends messages.
Absolutely.
Music empowers. Arts tells us a story. And so I think we need that. We need to start telling our own stories as Africans. Storytell that leader, that politician, that musician, tell that story about that particular place. I think once we do that, then we will really, really be in a very strong position where nobody can actually play with us because it's mind games.
Absolutely.
It's all mind games. You come, you say, yeah, I want to listen to this, but they're like, oh, but you guys are young. Oh, but this, no. You can be a leader at any given position as long as you believe in yourself. It has to start from you. And if you're not confident enough, package yourself well and position yourself. Because it's all about that. You have to. Nobody has the right answer. And I think that's one message I want to tell young people. No one has the right answer. And nobody knows how far you can go with your grind.
Absolutely.
Up until you put that best foot forward and keep going on.
Finally, before I sign out, are you sure you're not Nigerian? Anyway, listen, it's been an amazing conversation and I'm so happy that you took the time out to come sit down here with me. Ladies and gentlemen, especially in the room, please a round of applause for the incredible Nadia Abdalla! And until next time, peace and we're out.
You're listening to Adeshokbe Live, the Afrobeats podcast.
Right. Right.